Hello, my friends, subscribers, fellow flat earthers, fellow video makers, comment makers, video watchers, everybody who believes in the flat earth. And I'm sure there's some people here that don't believe in the flat earth. And a lot of people saw my little teaser trailer, and it was build up some excitement. And this is, in fact, exciting. And so I may get a little repetitive, but I just want to make sure everybody gets what I'm saying. This video is going to debunk the spinning ball Earth. Now, the challenge here, though, is to articulate this in such a way that everybody understands why this debunks the ball Earth. And also, the challenge is to get people to accept the truth and the reality of what's going to be presented here in this video. Okay, the ball Earth, flat Earth controversy or argument is twofold. What's the shape of the Earth, and is it moving? In this video, I'm going to prove that it's not moving, that it can't be moving. Okay, so sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Remember, taking away people's spinning ball that they've grown up with and they've lived with, and that's been their quote-unquote reality their whole life, is not easy. So even if I prove beyond a shadow of a doubt 100% that the Earth's not moving, they're still not going to take it. They're going to go kicking and screaming, okay? So let's remember that. As a wise man once said, as the heat rises, the snowflakes melt. All right, let's go. Let's do a little background first. The Earth is said to be rotating once every 24 hours, and it's said to have a diameter of 8,000 miles and a radius of 4,000 miles, with a 25,000-mile circumference. That would give the Earth a rim velocity, or equatorial speed, of about 1,000 miles per hour. And that 1,000 mile per hour equatorial speed is said to be bulging the Earth 14 miles high and flattening the poles. Okay, many ball Earth advocates will strawman this, right, with this one rotation in 24 hours. They love to say, well, look at the hour hand on a clock. See how slow it moves? It barely moves at all. You don't even see it. And that's true, right? And they say, do you think you'd feel that? And of course, you're stuck and you have to say, well, no. But what they're not telling you is a 4,000 mile long hour hand, at the tip of it, it would be moving at 1,000 miles per hour. So then, would you feel that? Well, let's just say the ground feels it. The Earth is said to be squashing at the poles about 14 miles on each pole and bulging up at the equator 14 miles high, right? Gazillions and gazillions of tons of rock and dirt and water. So would we feel it? Well, actually, I'm going to surprise you, and I'm going to say no, because we'd all be dead. And another thing about this straw manning tactic, the scientists who came up with the equatorial bulge did not use the one rotation in 24 hours as their criteria for coming up with this theory of the squashing of the poles in the equatorial bulge. Obviously, they knew that the 1,000 mile per hour rim speed would create such a disfigurement of the Earth. And so they came up with the flattening of the poles and the bulging of the equator 14 miles, based on the rim speed or the rotational speed, not on the rotational period of 24 hours. Okay, that's important. So that right there debunks every ball earther that goes, oh, it's one rotation in 24 hours. Would you feel it? Because they didn't come up with the equatorial bulge based on that. They knew that the centrifugal force generated by that 1,000 mile per hour rim speed would warp the Earth. And that's why they invented the equatorial bulge. So here's their problem. If the Earth has a 14-mile high bulge and is flattening at the poles, everything would spin off. See, the bulge itself indicates that everything wants to fly off, as I showed with the spinning ball and the spinning balloon. They say the Earth's spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. The supposed bulge is currently tied to the rotational speed. Here's what Wikipedia says. An equatorial bulge is due to the force exerted by its rotation. And it says the Earth is ductile, which means malleable, right? It's flexible. The Earth's equatorial bulge has been decreasing in step, there's the key, in step, with the decrease in the rate of rotation. So for all those ball Earth defenders that like to say, oh, the bulge is an artifact of when the Earth came into being. It was molten, kind of like some fresh, wet concrete, and it has since hardened into the bulge. Well, that's absolutely false compared to what Wikipedia and science says. It says that it's The bulge is tied, inextricably linked to the rotational speed. So stop saying that. All right, and what I'm going to show in this video is that the bulge cannot be going on underneath us and without us being affected here at the surface. Okay, here I have a spinning balloon and I have a spinning rubber ball. The water balloon's filled with water. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but this is doing a much higher rotations per minute or RPMs, right? The Earth is one rotation in 24 hours. So I'm using the water balloon, even though it's got a higher spin rate, right? Even though it has a higher spin period than the Earth, but I cannot replicate the Earth. Nobody can. You'd have to make a ball as big as the Earth to have a ball that rotates once in 24 hours that creates a bulge, okay? Can't happen unless it's a huge, huge ball, you know, close to the size of the Earth, all right? So what I'm showing with this balloon is that once it bulges, anything on the surface is done, all right? And the way I showed that is with this porous rubber ball next to it, okay? So the balloon has a skin and the rubber ball does not. They're both spinning hooked to my drill, all right? As you can see, the balloon is bulging, but it's trying to do what the rubber ball is doing. See, the water is flying off the rubber ball and it's flying off at the equator. Now, if the rubber ball had a skin like the balloon, it would be bulging. So if there were any water on the surface of this balloon, it would be gone. 100% flown off. It could not remain on the surface of a ball that is bulging due to the centrifugal force of its rim speed, right? Its rim velocity. No water can stay on that ball. Okay, and so this is the crux of the video. This is the proof that we're not spinning. You see, you can't have a spinning ball that's creating a bulge underneath the surface and not have the water fly off of the ball. I cannot put any water on that spinning balloon. The water will fly off. I know someone also is going to say to me, yeah, but the Earth's gravity regulates the water, keeps it from flying off. It keeps us in equilibrium, they like to say. Well, where in pray tell do you think I'm doing this experiment right now? I'll give you a hint. I'm outside, standing on the Earth. So the water is flying upwards against the Earth's gravity. The same gravity that's supposed to keep the water calm as glass mirrors in these lakes. Nope. Cannot. This is busted. It's done. Anybody who's intellectually honest has to admit this is done. Okay, you can think of the rubber ball as also having a skin like the balloon, and yet the water is flying off on the outside. You cannot, this is how the spinning ball is busted, right here. Okay, let me put this in simple terms. If you have this, a bulge, then you have this. If you don't have this, but you have this, then you have no bulge. And if you don't have this water flying off, and you have this placid water, then the Earth is not spinning. You cannot have a bulge and not have the water spinning off at the surface, especially because at the surface is where the centrifugal force is the max. And the farther away you are from the center of rotation, where we live, the more centrifugal force there is. So that's where this is busted. We're shifting to a new paradigm. The ball Earth is done. It's a cosmological reset coming at you. And another one I get is like, who do you think you are, taking on the most brilliant minds that ever lived? I disagree. Maybe they weren't the most brilliant minds. Maybe they were the most brilliant deceivers. Maybe they were the best con men. They've presented a fairy tale for adults. That's what this is. So this proves right here that if the Earth were really spinning and an equatorial bulge was going on below us, and remember, there's no skin on the Earth. And actually, it doesn't matter if there's a skin or not. Nothing's going to stay on the skin. The water on the surface would be spun off. This would be an absolute calamity, a catastrophe. We'd all be dead. Now, anybody with any intellectual honesty has to admit this. So, again, it's not the rotational period that creates the bulge. It's the rim velocity. It's the rim speed. Once you generate a bulge, all of the water would necessarily fly off. It has to, because that's why it's bulging, because the water's trying to fly off. And so, in terms of life on Earth, that's a cataclysmic catastrophe. No life can live on that. And so they might say, oh, but, well, like with my water balloon rubber ball, no water can stay on that ball. But they might say, oh, but it's gravity. It's gravity causes the Earth to be in equilibrium, they love to say. So the water wouldn't fly off. And like I said earlier, where, pray tell, do you think I'm spinning these balls right now? I'm standing on the Earth. And the water is flying upwards against the Earth's gravity. So let that sink in for a second. The water is flying up against the Earth's gravity. I am standing on the Earth using the Earth's gravity, and the water is still flying up. So that argument's bogus. Okay? So the water would spin off this Earth. Okay, so here's the problem that the ball Earth finds itself in today. Now, the only reason it's having a problem is because people are questioning it. We used to not question it, but we're questioning it now. Okay, so if it does actually have a bulge, and it has a rim velocity of 1,000 miles per hour, that means no life here, and we'd all be dead. Okay, they gave us the bulge, but somehow they wanted us to believe that it magically stopped at the surface, and then we can have lakes and ponds like glass with no disturbance to that flat, placid surface. That's not possible. Look at the spinning ball. Everything's got to go. And gravity, no, I'm spinning them right here under the influence of the Earth's gravity, quote unquote gravity. And it's spinning up into the air. So that's one problem. If it has a bulge, we're all dead. If it doesn't have a bulge, then it's not spinning, because the 1,000 mile per hour rim speed necessitates that there's a bulge. And the bulge means death across and no life on this ball. See the problem? So playing detective, you have to conclude that it was a made-up story. And like any detective looking at a thing, and that's really what most of us flat earthers are, we're detectives. And we've tried to figure out the crime. The crime is that these gaslighters have put on us, this spinning ball Earth, and have gaslighted us. They've tricked us. They've tricked our senses. They made us go a little insane, as humanity has gone a little crazy from this and lost all sense of reality. But the truth is, we're not on a spinning ball. It's impossible that we're on a spinning ball, as I just showed. A 1,000 mile per hour rim speed has to have a bulge, and they knew it. But a bulge, as I've showed, is death. All dead. No life on this thing. All water spun off. It can't work. And if there's no bulge, then there's no spin. You see what I mean? They're between a rock and a hard place. The jig is up. The jig is up. And so if you've understood this so far, that the rim speed or the 1,000 mile per hour rotation causes a disfiguring of the Earth to the tune of a 14-mile high equatorial bulge, you're going to love this one. Okay? The Earth's orbit around the sun is also a rotation, a 66,000 mile per hour rotation. Okay, so I've already talked a lot exhaustively about how the bulge is created when you have a rim speed of 1,000 miles per hour. But when you look at these two side by side, the Earth's supposed orbit around the sun and the Earth's supposed rotation, you clearly see that these are both two rotating bodies, right? So If the 1,000-mile-per-hour rotation of the Earth creates a disfiguring of the Earth to the tune of a 14-mile-high equatorial bulge and flattening of the poles, what would this do? What would the orbit do? I mean, look at that. That's 66,000 miles per hour rim speed. And it's spinning while it's going through it. And I already covered that in my periapsis video. That's a 2,000 mile per hour fluctuation. But where's the Earth distorting features attributed to the orbit? I mean, it also generates a centrifugal force, so you have both centrifugal forces acting at once. So also, the equator, every 12 hours, would have a 2,000 mile per hour fluctuation, and those living on the equator. I mean, that should cause the ground to heave and hoe, especially as the Earth is whipping around, and the equator that's on the outside should be bulging out, and then as it goes to the inside, it would relax, and the ground would just be pulsing in and out. Because when you're on the outside, you would be rotating in the orbital direction, and you'd have to add 1,000 miles per hour. When you're on the inside, you're rotating against the orbital direction. You'd have to subtract 1,000 miles per hour. That's a 2,000 mile per hour fluctuation every 12 hours, every day of the year. As it goes around, right? So you take the point there on the top of the North Pole, it'd be like this. I mean, this is not happening. Okay, everybody, there you go. It's a fraud. It's a hoax. The Earth is not moving. This is a fairy tale for adults and children. And it's time for this to end. Okay? Don't let this just be another video. Oh, well, it's just another, evidence, another video. This is absolutely kills the globe, the spinning globe. It can't be true. So leave links to this video. Get this video popular. And come back, my fellow awake friends, my fellow flat earthers. Come back and watch this more. Get it down like I used to do with old Ken Hovind videos. I watched them so much 15 years ago, I had them memorized. I was able to debunk evolutionists. But come back and watch this till you own this material yourself. It's time to end this charade. This is a fraud. This is a fairy tale. And you know why they made this fairy tale up, because they wanted to make the Bible seem like a fairy tale. But the Bible's got it right. So read your King James Bible and believe it, and you'll get the truth. Leave some links to this. Let's end this. Start getting the globes out of classrooms. Imagine that. The paradigm shift is here. And all we can do now is let's celebrate. All right? Thank you so much, gang. Here we go. Let's pop some champagne. Yes. Happy days are here again. Paradigm shift. The world's about to change. The Great Awakening. It's all coming together. All right. Thanks so much. I'll see you around. p-brane out for now. Thank you, subscribers. Thank you, everybody, all the Flat Earth video makers, Flat Earth commenters, all the great commenters. I like commenting myself. I almost enjoy commenting more than making videos. I love getting into the comment threads and mixing it up. Because you got the truth on your side. It makes it easy. You know what I mean? So anyway, again, that's it. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll look forward to comments. I don't know how much patience I'll have for the Ball Earth gaslighters that come in here trying to trick everybody. You cannot debunk this. We live on an immovable, stationary plane. All right. Thank you so much for watching. There's only one thing left to do. Let's kick the ball out of here. Take care.
The earth is flat, living in illusion. The earth is flat. We take some illusion. The earth is flat, living in illusion. So people don't know what to do.